Hi, this is Phil Borders, psychiatrist here at Hendricks Therapy in Central Indiana. Today we are going to continue our conversation on perfectionism. People who are perfectionists, they want to be great and they want to be great at everything. And as our friend Voltaire said, the great is the enemy of the good. Now, perfectionism pretty much starts in childhood. And when I first started doing my psychiatry thing, I assumed that perfectionists were basically products of very critical parents. And time again, I'd find that, they don't have really bad parents, that they've got pretty darn good parents for the most part, not all the part, but for the most part. And then they did this study, and I can't remember who did it, but the study found that 75% of perfectionists did not have critical parents. That they were, as to quote Lady Gaga, who should be quoted in every one of my video series, but to quote Lady Gaga, baby, I was born this way. So most perfectionists, it's just their inherent genetic tendencies. Now, that doesn't mean that that happens with everyone, that some perfectionists were actually placed in a position where their perfectionism developed during childhood. For example, perfectionism can be a response to childhood trauma. It can be a response to physical, sexual, emotional trauma. So the young child could think, well, if I'm perfect, I'm going to stay under the radar. If I'm perfect, I'm not going to be hurt so much. Perfectionism can also be a response to a fear of abandonment. If I'm perfect, maybe my dad will show up. If I'm perfect, maybe my mom won't leave. If I'm perfect, maybe they won't die. Perfectionism in kids, and this is, again, in kind of the 25%, that it wasn't just inherent in their childhood, can be a response to critical parents. If I'm good enough, maybe they'll love me. Now, perfectionism also is tied to ADHD. Little kids with ADHD and adults, all of this can be very confused, very disorganized. So if this is perfect, then this can just rely on this. So a lot of people with ADHD become perfectionistic because it's a way of dealing with their internal mess. Perfectionism also is tied to OCD. So most of it is genetic. My daughter, she's been a perfectionist since day one. And I remember when she was 16, she, was like, Dad, I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I'm like, it's okay. You're 16. You don't need to know this. So it's been a struggle for her, for her life history so far. She's working on it. She's gotten a lot better at it, but it's something that she's always dealt with. For the other 25%, it's a defense mechanism. It's a coping strategy. If I'm perfect, I'm not going to get hurt. If I'm perfect, they're going to show up. If I'm perfect, nobody's going to die. If I'm perfect, I'm going to be loved. So with little kids don't have a whole lot of choice. They've got little brains. They've got no or very few options, and they don't have any power. So becoming a perfectionist does give them a little bit of control, and it kind of works to a degree. It might keep them out of trouble. It might make daddy a little bit more likely to come home. Probably not, but it's something that the little kids got control over at least. So it is a defense mechanism. However, when these young people become adults and their brains are way more developed, they have way more power, they have way more options, what worked when they were 5 is now quite counterproductive, because if they try to be perfect, then they're stressed out, they're continuing to fail. It's taking up way too much time. So next video, we're going to look at an illustration. This is an illustration that I'm quite proud of. It took me a while to work on it. It took me a while to create this, basically a piece of art. And we're going to talk about the laws of diminishing and negative returns. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you next time.